I need you to be honest with yourself for a moment. Every off season, what do you worry most about losing? Your swing. You stress, you worry, you have anxiety over losing your swing during the winter months, and you fear having to play catch up or having to endure the process, and I'm using air quotes, of finding your swing once the weather begins to warm back up. But what you really lose in the off season isn't mechanics. It's confidence. You stop swinging the club. You stop visualizing. And perhaps most important of all, you stop feeling like a golfer. You stop identifying as a golfer. And by the time spring rolls around, you're not just rusty, you're disconnected. You hesitate, you second guess, you pause. And here's what I need you to understand. Confidence isn't built during the season. It's built in the dark. It's built during the quiet reps, the early mornings, the moments of discipline that nobody sees and nobody celebrates. And this winter, this off season, you have a choice. You can let that confidence rust away and end up stuck in the same pattern that you've experienced year after year, with your handicap hovering in the same plus or minus a point or two range. Or you can choose to protect your confidence, to expand your confidence through consistent, intentional action. Because the truth is, next season's trust, next season's confidence, next season's scores are being built right now when no one is watching. What's up, fellow golfer? Welcome back to another episode of the Scratch Golfer's Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salter, the golf hypnotherapist. And in today's episode, we're talking about perhaps my favorite season. And no, it's not holiday season, though I am quick to admit I put on Christmas music as early as possible. I almost went on a tangent on Christmas music. I'll stop. We'll do that later. We're talking about separation season, the off season. Here's your biggest nugget. You could stop the conversation after this and get so much value, though I don't encourage it. If you can learn to shift your perspective, to see this off season as an opportunity to separate yourself from your competition, to separate yourself from past versions of you, you have an opportunity to be light years ahead of everybody else. Because for most golfers, this is the time when they lose their momentum, their edge. But those who truly wish to stand out, shine, and tap into their potential, they maximize the offseason. They see it as opportunity and they create momentum that they bring vigorously into the new season. And in today's episode, we're going to begin to break down many of the mental pitfalls and traps that cause most golfers to regress, the habits that build unshakable confidence, and the plan and thought prompts you need to step into next season sharper, stronger, more confident, more trusting than ever before. And it's worth noting that even the turn of daylight savings time, getting much darker earlier in the evening, late afternoon, and just spending so much what feels like more time in darkness, it's as if a cloud of doom and gloom hovers over many of us. Some of us choose to press on, fight through it. Others succumb, begin to be quick to excuses. So if your priority in life isn't as much golf, it's more your business, your career, there's still so much value for you to take away from this conversation, because the truth is these winter months for many are ripe with excuses, justifications to slack on your diet, your self-care, to half-ass your effort, to make shortcuts and excuses. And candidly, that's what a lot of people are doing. But you're not a lot of people. You're not average. You're different. You're trying to be better. You're trying to be the best version of yourself. So I encourage you to embrace this separation season, this off season, as opportunity. Now, one thing I did when I was doing the majority of my coaching as a sports dietitian, when I was working with my weight loss clients, for a chapter of my dietitian years, I primarily helped individuals stuck in the yo-yo dieting cycle. In fact, here's a fun fact for you. 95% of people regain the weight they lose within a 3-year period. In fact, more than 50% of people who lose substantial weight, not only do they gain it back within that 3-year period, they weigh even more than their original pre-diet weight. And all of this, your yo-yo dieting challenges, am I speaking directly to you? I don't know, but if this resonates, really, really need you to tap in here. There's likely a pattern of similar belief and behavior and results with your handicap, with your index. Are you a yo-yo golfer? You progress during the season. You drop your handicap from a 14 to an 11. Maybe you get it from a 10 to a 7. But the off season comes. You stop identifying as a golfer. You stop following through on the action steps that not only helps you acquire and ingrain skills to get to the next level, but the belief and confidence necessary. So your handicap goes from 10 to 7 to 11 to 8 to 10 to 7. Maybe we see 6.4 before it's back up to a 13. We see the same patterns in yo-yo dieting. I observe them with the golfers I work with too. Are you a yo-yo dieter and a yo-yo golfer? Are you one of the same, one or the other? Here's the reality you need to understand. You have an identity problem. You see, in the dieting context, those individuals who struggle with their weight, and there's a myriad of emotional and psychological complexities in addition to the physiological ones that we could have podcast after podcast talking about, which I used to do. It's called Screw the Scale Radio. But all of this stems as an identity issue. The individual stuck in the yo-yo dieting pattern don't see themselves as fit, lean, strong, skinny, in shape, healthy. So when they briefly taste it, it's that old thermostat effect coming in. We've talked about this before. You're always going to rise and inevitably fall to the level you feel you are deserving, worthy, and capable of. And if we bring in that thermostat analogy once more, and I'll bring it back to golf, the way to think about it is imagine your success, your happiness, your handicap index as the temperature in your home, and your internal beliefs and self-worth as the thermostat that controls it. When your thermostat is set to 72 degrees, as an arbitrary example, your thermostat does what it needs to do to maintain that temperature. But when the temperature begins to rise above 72 degrees, you start going on a heater. Maybe you shoot a few low scores on the golf course. You have a few consecutive best months after best months in your business, or you lose weight, or you get to a weight range you've never seen before, you haven't seen since college. Suddenly, there's an oh shit, red flag moment taking place unconsciously. And that thermostat, so to speak, it kicks on to cool things down. And the cooling down manifests as unconscious self-sabotaging behaviors. And conversely, we know if the temperature ever gets too cold, we have a bad stretch of golf, we have a bad stretch of dieting and exercise and self-care, the thermostat will kick on to heat things back up to help ensure you maintain that level of comfort, predictability, and familiarity. That's your bubble of safety. That's what your subconscious is designed to do, to keep you safe. Well, many of the golfers I work with, and it's really, I should preface that a little more clearly, many of the amateur golfers who are businessmen or women, career professionals, one of the common stories I hear is, I don't see myself as an athlete. I don't identify as an athlete. And a lot of stories, I'm speaking generally because it's actually more common than you might think. My clients tell me they were the nerds. They were out of shape, unathletic growing up. They never identified as an athlete. They were picked last on the basketball court. They didn't play high school sports. Maybe they were in their band. Their dad taught them how to golf. They never viewed golf as a sport, let alone they never viewed themselves as an athlete. So they don't identify as an athlete. So, they can put in enough time to maybe break 100, maybe break 90. But the barrier they run into is they don't believe they are an athlete. They don't believe, therefore, they're able to be a great golfer. They have their own unique definitions of great golfer. Maybe for them it's break 80, maybe it's scratch, maybe it's win a tournament. I don't know. It's unique for every person. The same thing shows up in the dieting and weight loss thing. These individuals don't believe that they're worthy, deserving, and capable of being fit, strong, lean, dare I say, sexy, desirable, and healthy. And it's all because of their filter, their belief, the belief through which they view themselves, the belief through which they see the world, and again, what you're deserving, worthy, and capable of. So I share that to really kind of set the core foundation of this conversation. At the core of what's going on, if you don't identify as a golfer, and you don't have to be on a quest for your tour card to identify as a golfer. You can hear it in your self-talk. And this is what pisses me off so much, is when somebody you meet asks you if you golf, and you'll say something like, yeah, I hack it up every now and then, or yeah, I get out there on occasion. When really what's taking place is you're in your fucking garage hitting on your sim 3 nights a week. You're doing all the things, but you are getting in your own way because you don't even give yourself permission to let alone identify as a golfer, but to embrace and accept, like, fuck yeah, dude, I put in 4 times a week. This is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. You downplay the amount of time, energy, and effort you put in. And that is a classic example of how your self-talk is limiting not only your behavior, because it's a reflection of your belief, it's limiting your results. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to sip my coffee because I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now. But what I want to ultimately get to is I want to share an example here. This is why I brought up the dieting analogy, because something I used to tell my clients, and it works perfectly for golf, I mapped it out, is I used to use this example all the time for yo-yo dieters, but specifically the individual who follows their diet 5 days a week and then sucks on the weekend. So the example I would share is, let's say for you can maintain your weight loss, or your weight, eating 2,500 calories a day. So we start a diet. We're keeping things really simple, basic right now. So if you're used to maintaining your weight, eating 2,500 calories a day, we make an adjustment to have you eating 2,000 calories a day. When you eat 2,500 calories a day, 7 days a week, you're taking in 17,500 calories a week. When we start the diet, 2,000 calories a day, that's 14,000 calories a week. The problem most people make, however, is Monday through Friday, they're clean as can be, consistent, simple, following the plan, 2,000 calories a day. On the weekends, however, they eat like assholes. Are you that asshole? Do you eat like an asshole on the weekend and you pile in 3,500 calories Saturday and Sunday? Those off-track weekends, in addition to being on track for 5 days, off track for 2, that brings you in at 17,000 calories a week, which is just 500 less than what you were doing to maintain your weight originally. And inevitably, no progress is felt, let alone seen in the mirror. So you feel stuck spinning your wheels. You feel, fuck it, it's not worth it. I can only lose weight if I'm perfect. It opens up a myriad of limiting beliefs, sabotaging behaviors, and you only begin to lose weight if you're perfect, eating 1,200 calories a day. That's not sustainable. So then you balloon back up, and so on and so forth. Is that pattern relatable? I'm here to tell you it's not a nutrition or diet problem. It's a belief problem. It's an emotional problem. That's why my weight loss clients have such tremendous success, is because we change the core belief that allows them to believe and see themselves as fit, strong, healthy, sexy individuals. But let's bring it to the golf season now. This is why I had so much fun putting this together. So let's assume, for simplicity purposes, I know it's highly dependent upon where you live. Thank you for Florida, golfing 12 months a year. But let's assume you live somewhere where you can golf 9 months out of the year. And this is kind of ignoring, yes, there's so much indoor practice opportunity now more than ever before. But let's assume January, just for simplicity purposes, I'm going to try not to say months. I don't want to confuse you. Like month 1, you're spending knocking off the rust. You're not making any real progress. You're trying to get back to baseline from last year. Month 2, you're beginning to identify specifically the patterns and areas of improvement you need to prioritize and practice. Months 3 through 6, you begin to act on that knowledge. You see the gaps in your game. You're working hard. You're practicing. You're taking lessons. And about 3 months into the season, maybe month 4, you're back into form. You're back where you were last year. Month 6, okay, we're making improvement. Month 7, maybe you're still making improvement, but you might also be beginning to start coasting. It's been a long, and I use air quotes, golf season for you. Maybe you're playing so much golf, you're getting a little burnt out. Those Monday and Wednesday night leagues, it's less time with the family. You've got a lot of work going on. And you might be making progress month 7, month 8, but you might be coasting. Month 9, there's minimal practice. The weather's turned. It might be a few more casual rounds. Member, guest is over with. And then months 10, 11, and 12, you barely touch a club. So again, let me go back to month 1. You're knocking the rust off. So inevitably, during some of these months, if we were to label them as +1, you're making progress, 0, no progress, and then -1, you're actually regressing. Well, the way that I did this out is inevitably there's going to be 4 months of virtually no progress. There's going to be 4 months 1 and 2, and then months 11 and 12, where you're losing progress, month 1 and months 10, 11, and 12. And then there's a few months in there that's different for everyone, 3, maybe 4, where you are making progress. You add all of those +1s, 0s, and -1s together, you get a net of fucking 0. Which is why year after year, your handicap flirts between a 13 and a 15, a 6 and an 8. You do the same shit year after year. If you want different results, you need to do different, believe different, and fucking be different. And that's why my challenge to you this offseason is to see it as an opportunity to stop labeling it winter or offseason. Start labeling it, embracing it as separation season, because this is your opportunity to separate yourself, not only from your local and regular competition, but from past versions of yourself. And here's the additional low-hanging fruit I need you to understand. You don't need the golf course to become a better golfer. You don't need the golf course to become a better golfer. I already mentioned there's no shortage of indoor training, gadgets, facilities, and opportunities. You can have a putting mat at home. You can do mirror work. You can go to an indoor sim. You can man up and put some winter clothes on and go hit balls outside. But the truth is, where you really have an opportunity to separate yourself is in the physical work, in the gym, and in the mental work, your mindset, raising the floor of your beliefs, what you believe to be true about what you deserve, are worthy of, and capable of accomplishing on the course, in your business, and otherwise. If you're serious about becoming the best version of yourself on the course, and the weather limits the amount you can play, this is the time to do all of the stuff necessary away from the course that allows you to create such momentum you hit the ground running once the weather turns. Because at the end of the day, you cannot forget, you bring your whole self to the course. You can't separate the golfing you and the individual husband, wife, father version of you. It's time to drop the excuses and do the fucking work. It's separation season. No time off. This is the most important time of the year, because I want you to imagine for a moment. You're walking onto the first tee in early March, and there's just this vibe about you, because deep down, you know that the last few months, you didn't just barely hold on to maintaining your skill level. You fucking leveled up. And that is an indescribable feeling you deserve. And it's only going to come if you treat these next few months like separation season. And I want to talk about some of the common misconceptions and pitfalls that you are likely to experience. I want to address that there's likely going to be a little voice within you that gives you no shortage of excuses as to why you shouldn't get some of the at-home practice or reps in the gym or reps in your mind completed. We need to address all that, get it all out in the air, because the truth is most golfers don't lose ground in the offseason because of talent or because of time. You're going to lose ground and lose progress this offseason because of mental drift. It's not the weather. It's not the daylight. It's that unconscious permission that slips and you begin to give yourself permission to coast. Again, it's the unconscious permission slipping. You suddenly permit yourself to take shortcut. I'll do it tomorrow. It's not a big deal. What are 25 3-footers really anyway? So let's talk about some of these common challenges, because I have an imagination. Many of them are points and examples of what you've experienced before. And I want to ensure you hit the ground running this time around, because ultimately you have an opportunity these next few months to show up by the time your golf season starts already playing the best golf of your career and using that as a foundation, a springboard to take your scores lower and lower. So let's address the first common pitfall. It's all or nothing thinking. We already alluded to it in the diet example. I have to be absolutely fucking perfect, eating 1,200 calories a day, 7 days a week to lose weight. It's the only way I can do it. You do it for 3 weeks, you lose a ton of weight, you feel like absolute shit. Fuck it, I'm done. I throw in the towel, and then I balloon up and I gain that weight and then some back, and on it goes. And what that looks and sounds like in terms of all or nothing thinking specific to golf in the off season is, if I can't play or practice like I do in season, then it's not worth it. Sound familiar? This is one of the most destructive lies that you can buy into. It's essentially perfectionism disguised as logic. It's the belief that partial effort doesn't count. So instead of putting in 20 minutes of mirror work or hitting 25 3-foot putts on your living room carpet, on your birdie ball putting mat, whatever it is you have, you do nothing at all. And the result of that is your confidence is what deteriorates faster than your mechanics. And this is what begins to plant the seed for disconnection from your identity as a golfer. And come spring, you're not just rusty. You're hesitant, doubtful, untrusting of your swing, your feel, your mechanics, your grip, because your brain hasn't seen, let alone felt, a golf club in months. The fix here is consistency. It's being honest about what's feasible from a practice standpoint. We'll come back to this later in the conversation. And beginning there, it's identifying, I'm going to write this down so I don't forget to come back to it, the minimum effective dose. What's the minimum amount of practice time you need to spend every week to make sure, A, you know you're making progress, and B, that when you lie your head down on your pillow at night, you do so from a place of peace and feeling accomplished that you put in the work to move your game forward. A second big pitfall, it's comfort creep. It's the holidays. I'll take it easy. I'll reset. I mean, I'm recording this episode after enjoying some delicious pumpkin ice cream and pumpkin roll last night. And I hit the gym at 5 this morning. I hit some putts. The work gets done. It's the holidays. I'll take it easy. I'll reset, or some variation of that. Let's be honest. The off season offers comfort at every turn. There's warm beds, big meals, late mornings, delicious high fat, high sugar food, plenty of drink. I mean, I love a good eggnog or 3, time with friends and family. And while rest is important, the off-season becomes dangerous when comfort becomes your default. And your self-talk might begin to sound like, I deserve a break. It's fine. Everyone else is taking them. It's not fine. It's not fucking fine. Why do you want to be like everyone else? Everyone else is a shit golfer, overweight, unhealthy, stressed, broke, anxious, and unhappy. You don't strive to be average, but society, your environment, your familial upbringing has attempted to brainwash you that it's fine to be average. It's not. And this is not me getting up on my high horse saying, don't eat sweets, don't indulge. No, please do. Remember, I talked about in a recent episode, balance isn't a thing we're striving for here. It's alignment, it's intentionality, and it's honest fucking communication about what you want and what needs to get there. You want to improve your golf game, but you fucking don't touch your clubs for 3 months? Make it make sense. There's a massive incongruency. And you start to trade the mental edge you had in these winter months, the mental edge you had that made you hungry for progress and results, for this illusion of balance. And your discipline dulls, your routine dissolves. Come spring, guess where you're starting? 2 steps behind where you used to be, watching those who stayed sharp all offseason continue to pull further and further ahead. Number 3, big pitfall that kind of builds off of number 2 is your excuses masquerading as logic. It's too cold. My club's closed. I'll just focus on fitness this winter. You do yourself a disservice. You don't go work with Sean Dykoff, episode I think 80 or 88 on my podcast, my golf-specific fitness trainer. You half-ass in the gym, do some curls, get out of there. No. Every excuse you say begins to sound better and better the more you allow yourself to say it. They start to sound reasonable, but they're still excuses. They give you a mental out while preserving your ego. Oh, I'm not quitting. I'm just waiting for better conditions. Does that sound like somebody who's seriously committed to becoming a better golfer, a better business owner, entrepreneur, husband, father, mother? No. So what happens is you break this chain of momentum. You stop reinforcing the identity of someone who finds a way, someone who makes it a priority regardless of the challenge. And then in the spring, your subconscious has built up this pattern of familiarity of associating challenging circumstances with retreat, avoidance, and numbing. And that's what happens on the course too. You lose your mental edge, you lose your resiliency. And number 4, you just flat out lack accountability. Look, asking for help accelerates results. We all benefit from added accountability in our corner. I have a golf fitness coach who, to be frank, he just sent me a voice note a couple days ago, like, hey, dude, checking in. Haven't heard from you in a couple weeks. And I'd been sick, down on my ass. I'd been moving a little bit, but it was so great to hear from him. It reminded me, hey, I got to get the next phase details to him so we can build this out and hit the ground running. I've got a golf swing coach. I've got 2 mindset and performance coaches. Coaching is fantastic. Accountability is essential if you want to get to the next level, because your mind, remember, your subconscious is designed to keep you safe. The moment you step outside of your comfort zone, you become exposed to a variety of sneaky, crafty, and creative excuses and justifications to come back to your bubble of comfort. A coach can push you, challenge you, help you think and see and do different. Lack of accountability shows up as I'll practice when I can. When it's convenient, when it feels good. Hint, it's rarely convenient. I'll figure out my goals later. I'll start my new plan after the holidays. But without accountability, whether a coach, whether from a community, whether just from having a written plan on a notepad, which I have many of, your intentions fade into the background noise of daily life. And ultimately, you begin to develop the skill of rationalizing inconsistency because there's no one checking in, no scoreboard, and no structure. So you begin to drift. Each week feels like just 1 week off, but the compound effect is real. 3 months of lost reps, lost focus, lost swings, lost feels, lost belief in your ability to follow through. Your subconscious learns that your word doesn't carry any weight. And can you just begin to see how underneath all of this, there's an identity issue, but there's just a craving for emotional comfort. You begin to trade growth for convenience, discipline for distraction, and progress for predictability. But here's what you really need to understand. Golf doesn't reward comfort. Life doesn't fucking reward comfort. It rewards consistency. And those who stay consistent when it's hardest to do so create separation that can't be caught once the season begins. So where do you go from here? I mean, first and foremost, it's continuing that thread of honest communication with yourself. What do I want? And filter it down to the niched area you're focused on: golf, business, family life, health, or otherwise. What do I want? What do I need to do to get there? What do I need from those in my closest circle to support me, to hold me accountable in getting there? What are the best of the best in my respective industry? If you translate this to golf, what are scratch golfers doing that I'm not? What are scratch golfers not doing that I am? And who do I need to become to achieve these goals? Those are 5 questions that if you get clear, honest, and real with yourself in the answers to those questions, clarity begins to come into play. A sense of alignment is felt and continues to strengthen. And from that clarity, you can now put together a plan that prioritizes the most effective action steps to get you there. So if we go holistically in putting this plan together, it's as simple as how many times a week am I playing? Am I practicing? We go a little more granular to what am I specifically working on? We've identified weak points, areas you're losing stroke. Is it off the tee? Is it around the green? And we're bringing more intentionality and specificity to those practices. The mistake so many people make, though, is throughout this planning process, planning and ideating is an incredibly addictive process. We get this rush of dopamine because we're starting to connect with this potential future version of ourselves. But so many of us, we let dopamine, this rush of feel-goodness, take over to the point we over-promise, overextend what is feasible in terms of number of practice sessions, gym workouts a week. And then we instantly start falling up short. We let frustration, doubt, second-guessing, and uncertainty come into play, and we never end up following through. So as you're putting this plan together, gym time, practice time, one of the best ways you can determine what's a priority in your life is by auditing your calendar. And let me take a step back. If you don't have a fucking calendar of some sorts, Outlook, Google Calendar, an actual journal, notebook that keeps a calendar, that's a huge missed opportunity. What the fuck's important? What's the priority? Are you just relying on yourself to figure it out every day? Do you know how much energy and time you're wasting doing that? You need to have a calendar. Maybe that's a conversation for a different podcast episode. But in short, is you need to plan it. You need to block out. Is it feasible to get 2 45-minute practice sessions in a week? And 3 45-minute lifting sessions a week? I don't know, but less is more. And I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, that when your golf season wraps up, go review all of your data from the year, whether it's Arccos, whether it's Decade. More importantly, go review every single after round report, so you can clearly spot and reconnect with the destructive patterns of thinking, feeling, decision-making, and believing you experienced this past season. Begin to spot and connect to the emotional and energetic leaks you experience. All of this is just data. And it's most valuable when you go back and review it. Collecting in a real time is valuable, but when you go back and review it and utilize it as a learning opportunity, that's the real power of these after round reports and the data you're collecting each round. So use that to put your plan together and understand that in the beginning, less is more. The goal is to build momentum and consistency. If you have a goal of 5 golf practice sessions a week, and you average 2 per week for the first 30 days, you feel like a massive failure. If you have a goal of 2 and you average 2 every week, and 1 week you get 3 in, you feel on top of the world. And then maybe you can audit after 30 days, do I add 1 more? Because what's most important here is consistency, not perfection. And starting with a lower number of commitments, whether those be gym commitments, practice time, short games, simulator, getting to the actual course if you have that option available, start with less. You can always do more. But you need to ensure that you're taking care of not only the technical aspect of your game this offseason, you're taking care of the physical aspect. This is a huge opportunity where you literally are golfing less, where you can really put some time and intentional effort into building strength, building muscle, building power, expanding range of motion, flexibility, mobility. And again, I think it's episode 85, 86, 88, somewhere in the 80s of the Scratch Golfer's Mindset podcast with Sean Dykoff. Phenomenal, multi-TPI certified golf-specific fitness coach. Buddy of mine, can't recommend enough. I use him personally, and I have seen immense gains in my yardage and just an overall feeling, energy, range of motion, strength, and power. I'm training like a fucking golfer. And it's showing up on the course. In addition to that, how are you approaching your mindset? Because at the end of the day, your beliefs about yourself, your golf game, the world, money, other people, they run the show. They're the filters through which you see the world. They're the filters through which you collect all this data from your five senses. You interpret it. You start to feel, think, and do, which ultimately shapes your being and your results and reality. Look, I'll be candid. I'm biased, but we all have work to do in upgrading our mindset, uncovering and ultimately unlearning the collection of destructive patterns of thinking, feeling, believing, and behaving. You know they exist. And when you're finally courageous enough to ask for help, watch the results accelerate. But you need to do something. You need to have a standard self-care practice, meditation, journaling, breath work. I can't recommend the free 28-day welcome course of the Waking Up app. It's a meditation app with Sam Harris. It's incredible. Breath work. I've talked about breath work at length. It's an incredibly valuable tool because it's transferable into every area of your life. Journaling has changed my life. I can't recommend it enough. If you want a low-hanging fruit journaling prompt, write down 5 things you are grateful for every morning, and then write down the question, what do I want? And see what comes up. If that's your simple framework every day, you're going to go far and get a lot out of it. And then you're going to feel more comfortable, more courageous, and have a better time writing down what you're feeling. This sucked, this hurt, this was challenging, and you can further expand and strengthen your emotional intelligence. Underneath all of this, though, you're looking to find the minimum effective dose. Again, what's the minimum number of golf practice sessions, meditation sessions, working with my mindset coach, putting in the resistance training workouts? What are the minimum number of sessions per week or per month that I need to hit that gives me the confidence I am progressing? Identify that and err on the less is more side of the equation. And the last prompt I encourage you to dig into, and this is going to require some honesty, courage, and vulnerability. But if you take a look reflecting the past couple of off seasons, what were your common excuses? What were the obstacles? What were the things that got in your way from doing what you said you would do? Be honest with yourself. Why did you make excuses A, B, and C? What were excuses A, B, and C? What did you let take priority over your commitments to yourself? And with that information, you can begin to proactively problem solve. Remember, in order to achieve different, you need to be different, do different, believe different. You're one decision away from the best golf season of your life, from becoming the next best version of yourself. Consistency is what will channel that energy of up-leveling in the direction you desire, would help it grow and strengthen over time. So find the minimum effective dose. And at the core of all of this, start treating these next few months like separation season, seeing these next few months as an opportunity. When you do so, you have an opportunity to significantly separate yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and technically from all of your competitors, from your past self, to go play and live one of the best years of your life. And I want nothing more than for you to have that experience. Now, as the rest of the year unwinds, I'll be sharing a little bit more about what I'm digging into this offseason. I have a unique challenge that I'm integrating and blending into my offseason, and that challenge is simply that I committed to running a 75-mile race on March 6th. I don't run. Interestingly enough, I've run a 30 miler, I've run a 50 miler before, and I ran the 50 miler with about 6 weeks of training. I maintain good physical conditioning. I just don't run. So I've got to find a way just to get miles on my feet. I've got a 16-week plan of running where I'm integrating some golf specific workouts. I've got my golf practice plan coming together, but most importantly, it's all blocked out on my calendar. The plan is there. It's up to me to execute. And I have accountability for that. I'm sharing it with you. Feel free to check in. How's it going? You're getting things done. To be candid, my challenge, my biggest fear is, lack of sleep, A. To be very frank, am I going to be able to sleep enough to run between 30 and 50 miles a week, hit the gym a few times, play a round of golf, and get my golf practice session in? That's my biggest fear. So I'm going to have to take care of myself, really, really take more things off my plate to better protect my sleep. And then am I going to make time? Am I going to respect my calendar? There's an opportunity there for me. There's an opportunity there for you. And I appreciate you tuning in. I hope you found immense value in today's conversation. Separation season is here. Get excited. Make the most of this opportunity and take yourself and your game to the next level. And hey, do me a favor, share this episode. Share it with somebody you know who will find immense value, somebody who struggles. They're stuck in the yo-yo pattern of life. Maybe it's dieting, maybe it's golf, maybe it's business. Maybe it's just general fulfillment, happiness, and well-being. It seems to ebb and flow far more than it should. I think there's a wake-up call waiting for that individual in this episode. So share it with a friend. Leave a rating, a review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening to the show. It helps me immensely. I appreciate you. Have a strong start to the week, and we'll catch you in Thursday's episode.